So as you can tell, there's no secrets. These guys share what they go through and they get around it. So whenever I get an email from DC, I go, is this in regards to Michael Kahn? You know. So anyways, I like to take a look at one of the biggest events that we've had in OYA, and we hit a little bit on it, and that was youth going to college. And Dagny and Tracie have worked very hard to take advantage of the Pell grant. And, you know, we were invited to DC, it was actually this week, and we found out that we're leading the country in getting the Pell grant to our young people. And the work that our superintendents, camp directors, principals have done to promote college is looked upon as a real positive. And granted, we're one of the few states that have young people up to the age of 25, but even if it was a school of young people up to the age of 18, to be able to get started with college, to fill out their FAFSA work, and to get going. And so I learned that other states and politicians and those of power in DC see this as an example to pursue as a national move because of the number of people that are incarcerated, the ability of the Pell Grant, especially to look forward to, at one time, maybe the adult system. But right now, Oregon's able to have a critical mass of young people in college with the Pell. And I'm very thankful to the education people. And just for some of you from out of state, our schools actually continue on with a contract for education for the older youth. So there's that conduit. And so I'd like to open this up. Aaron, would you like to come up too? Anyone who does college? All right. All right. So I don't want to let anybody left out of it. So I'll hand it over to the experts. Again, they've done phenomenal work here.
So basically, we're going to go over for the folks that are from out of state to kind of go how we did that, and then we'll get into some of the stuff for the folks that are already doing that need more information. So basically how we started, and Gary touched on it earlier, is we have an OAR that allows our youth on the internet for work, for transition things, for college, all those things. It allows our youth onto the internet for. And so our suggestion is to make sure you get one of those, that you have a state law that says your youth are allowed to be on the internet for those purposes, because it gives you a lot of backup. If somebody comes up and says, why is this kid on the internet? It gives you that backup. Create your agency and policies and procedures. Make sure you have it in your own policy and procedures, what is allowed and what's not allowed. And we've done that. We went back and wrote those as we went. Create an acceptable use form. We have our youth sign those forms every semester. So those youth have seen it over and over and over and over again. And we've also talked about putting it on the computer, that when they go to take their class, that it pops up where it's right there on the screen to start with, so that they have to see it again. And so it's just those reminders. And I liked when we went to visit Washington, they actually have it up on the wall as well, and right in front of every cubicle on top of every computer. And I think that's a great idea too. And so we've looked at that as well. And then have consistent guidelines. I mean, you've already heard, everybody has guidelines of what happens if this happens, and what do you do to the youth if they mess up. And so have those consistencies so that when the youth does mess up, they know what's going to happen to them. And B, you're disciplining them along the way, and they're learning. We do that with our own youth, our own families and kids and stuff. We need to do it with them as well. But be consistent when the youth messes up. So yes, the policy and procedure, they're not on here, but the policy and procedures that we have, they're all on the Rachel server, so you can see them all. The OARs on the Rachel server as well. We've put all of those on there for you so that we can share them with you. If you still want them later, that you can't find them, just email Dagny or I, and we'll send them to you. We'll send you all our paperwork if you need that. So, So the other piece is when you start the program, train your teachers on how to use the computers on Google. We have had Google trainings for our teachers. We're sending them out for those trainings. Rich's folks are about to get the Google training through the Unjammed with CEEAS. They're going to go to that this year. So allow your teachers to get the training and the staff. Like Mike said, he used to have the flip phone, and a lot of our staff still are like that. They may not know enough about internet and they're uncomfortable with the youth. The line staff get uncomfortable because they don't know. They don't know the capabilities. And so we need to talk to our staff about those capabilities so they know what to look for and what's, kind of when those kids start to go south, they know what to look for. Be consistent. I can't say that enough. Be consistent with the rule violators. Be flexible and problem solvers. You've heard that throughout the day. That's been very helpful. Use good security software that works for you and realize it's a never-ending target. The kids are always going to get through. You're always going to have something come up, and you just have to figure it out and fix it later.
It's not if, it's when.
Right. So then the next step was working with financial aid. So when we heard that our youth were going to be allowed for the Pell Grant, when we got that message, we kind of heard that it was coming anyway and had already started working with our colleges and universities to get basically, for the most part, our community colleges are all working together with us, and they have a set standard and they have a set way of doing the financial aid that works, and that we basically have all of their names, all of the financial aid directors, we have their names, and we have their phone numbers, and we have their email addresses. So when we have an issue with our community college, we just pick up the phone and say, hey, what's going on? Can you help us? And they basically fix it for us. And we started with Chemeketa because Kathy out at Chemeketa is basically the, what's the group called? Their financial aid directors for the community colleges have a group that all the directors get together every 3 months. And she's the head of that. And so it was nice that she was in our backyard and we were able to work with her. And she helped us work through that process of getting our own procedure that we came up with that works for them and for us. Now, the universities won't get together and do that for us, so we have basically their direct phone numbers and emails, and each one of them are completely different on their process, and so it makes it a little tough.
Each platform that they have for the student eventually to sign up and log into classes and stuff, I don't think there's a repeat of any of them. They're kind of close, so you have to learn a whole new platform for each different college the students may attend.
The other thing is to have the letter from the U.S. Department of Education handy, because you still have some of those. Even 2 years later, we had was it PCC? Yes. It was PCC that basically said your youth aren't eligible for the Pell Grant. And we're talking almost 2 years after the letter came out. And so we basically go, no, yes, they are. Here's the letter, and what do we need to do to fix the problem? And the youth was signed up and ready to go within about a week. They changed the problem. So make sure you have that letter handy, because you still have to pull it out. And then have your go-to person for each college, not just your financial aid director, but that person that you can work directly with when you have questions about the classes that are being offered, what the youth needs to have to take that class. Because some of them, they're building web designs, those types of things. Are you going to allow that? Are you going to allow them if there's a social class, sociology class, where they're having to get on a Facebook? Is that acceptable? You have to decide those things. And if not, then you have to let the youth know they can't take those classes. And what classes are those? And so every university is different. Every college is different. You just have to figure out what classes are acceptable and what aren't. And sometimes the youth aren't allowed to take specific classes. And we've had to basically say no. And the other piece is your state has their laws of if your youth can take college classes or not. Some states don't, so we've really stuck with our kids, telling them that they are only allowed to take classes at an Oregon college or university, because we don't know what everybody else's state laws are around a convicted felon taking a class at their university. And we don't have the staffing or the ability to go to each university and college and figure that out. So we've basically stuck with Oregon and tell our youth that that's where they need to go.
Community colleges are cheaper.
Yes.
California, I believe, depending on which area you're in, or if the student's living within that area, the college is free for them. Whether they have as much online access, I'm not sure on that. but they are getting there because I've had other students research California schools and trying to figure out in their majors and what they would like to get into. So check your area, see which ones are free. Oregon is in the process now of getting FAFSA set up or allowing free school this coming September for college students, but that's a whole process. They still have to run through the whole FAFSA form and apply, and there's still levels that they have to go through. Do you want to do this one too? Right into the FAFSA. Pretty much make it possible that have your students watch the video either on the FAFSA or in study.com. There's a couple classes there. They can see the video, the step-by-step. It will make it a lot easier with completing financial aid. It's not easy for anybody under the age of 24 because it comes down to whether they're a ward of the court or a ward of a state. A ward of a court, when you fill out the paperwork for their FAFSA, is if that parent had done something and the student was taken away and may have been put into foster care, then the student could qualify for FAFSA without putting parent information in. If the student is a ward of the court where the student had done something, they're going to need all the parent information. So that means income from the parents' signature. Parents will have to make a FSA ID online if they're going to submit it online. If the parent does not have access to the internet and they cannot do it, you can help the student put in as much information. They get the paper form that you can download from the FAFSA site. They can submit it along with that with what the student had entered in. There is a printable parent signature page that can be sent in. You mail it in. It's going to take another 4 to 6 weeks at least before you hear anything back from FAFSA on the students on whether they or how much they can qualify. And then it will be sent to the college. Then the college will let you know how much the student can qualify for classes. When gathering for the FAFSA, along with the parent information, you need DSH information if they have been awarded the court or state. You're going to need to get in touch with your local Social Security if somebody's changed their name. Wages for the youth need to be documented, and what is it, the 1098s or 1099s need to be included. They have to review over their crime history in the FAFSA. It will specifically state you can qualify or you can't qualify depending on certain circumstances. And most of the drug ones and activities that they have there is that if the student had committed a crime when receiving financial aid. So if our students hadn't beforehand, they can still fill out for the future. Have 1 or 2 people at your facility know the process to fill out the information and to help the students gather information. Working with colleges and universities, this is the fun part. You get the whole part of needing to figure out how you're going to do admissions. As I mentioned earlier, the platforms will vary from the colleges. You get to know all of them, and I am very grateful to have a Donald. Donald goes in, and there's certain websites that we have to open up for our access to the universities. You've got Chemeketa's site, Lane's site, University of Oregon site, and each school has different banner. Moodle. One thing with Moodle, many people may have heard that sometimes there's messages that can be sent back and forth between students. So you have to watch out within that learning system. Chemeketa, so far so good. It's mainly messages and stuff to the teacher in the classroom, and your teacher ends up being your second backup security. One year, many years back, we had one kid joking with one of the other kids in the class and called him a carrot top, and the teacher stepped in and said, that is not appropriate to call somebody a carrot top, and that's not what this class is for. And students stuck with everything, and no more shenanigans on that part. Where are we on stuff? We've done, okay. Students, not all students come to us from we're in Chemeketa service area, but if they came from you, they may have been going to another college, local college. If they came from Tillamook Bay, if they came from the Eugene area, they could have been going to Lane Community College. If the students, we do Chemeketa, but the thing is, if a student's already been attending a college, we let them continue in the college if we are not having any issues with the student breaking rules or anything regarding to what we expect from them. And some of the colleges is free for an application. Chemeketa is free. Lane is free. Lynn Benton has a $25 or $30 fee that you have to pay, but that covers their placement test, where the other colleges have free placement tests. If their name gets pulled up for verification, then they have to submit all these papers to the college, and then it's up to the college on working with Chemeketa, Lane, and the University of Oregon. We've had to have the backup paperwork, and they've explained it as the award of the court. One being where the parent has done something, an award of the state. Award of the state is the student did something wrong. They have to include parent information. Award of the court means the student was removed from the parent's care at some reason, or may have been put into guardianship, because if the parents had passed away and they're in somebody else's guardianship, then they could qualify for financial aid without parent information.
So to answer your question about the Chemeketa piece, also because of where we're located, every community college expects that the people located within their boundaries participate inside their at their school first. And so we do have, and we can kind of gloss over that a little bit when they come in already at another school, and or we can also look at if they're going to transition soon to the community college that's going to be in the house that they're the town where they're going to be at. Yeah. Yeah, right. And so that's kind of where I'd say probably about 70 to 80% of our guys all go to Chemeketa because it's right there, and they're going to be there. That's where they started. That's where we're going to have teachers come from there. So we just kind of keep it within Chemeketa.
I know there was one other comment with that I was going to think of it, and it's like that little bubble from the bottom, and it popped. So when they go through their study.com, with the videos that they have to look at to see the process, this allows the student to have an understanding of what they need in order to complete their forms. Our students, do they want to watch the video? No. They want to just get in there, they want to fill the paperwork, and then they can't understand why it's being rejected. And then you, as the staff, have to go back step by step to find out which one they missed to get it cleared up. So have them watch the video, have them, if they've got questions afterwards, ask, and then go to the FAFSA site and have them watch the video there. And please make sure you choose the free financial aid site to go through. There are some that go ahead and charge about $70 to maybe $150 to fill out a FAFSA. They say they'll help them get scholarships and everything. Don't go for those because they're free. Signature page, the parent letter and signature page. I have a parent letter that I send out to my parents when I know that they have to send them the information. I have a step-by-step process on how to fill out the financial aid for their parent part. The biggest part is parents choose when they're going to their W-2s or 4s and putting in the correct amount that needs to go in each line. And sometimes when it comes back, when you're looking at the student stuff, if the parent may have reversed them, you tell the parent, hey, you need to reverse these. They go back in and check. And you make sure the parent makes up their own FSID. You don't want the student making a parent FSID for the student because that's forging the parent's name. It has legal responsibilities with that if the student has it and is writing some parent's name and the parent didn't know that they were signing the paper. And we don't get into that part. It's like, nope, we send it to your parent, let them take care of it. New student orientation. For an example, at Chemeketa and many of the other colleges, when you first start, after the admissions is done, they run you through a new student orientation so that you know what process is going on at the college. They step by step what the college is expecting, classes, emergency services, disability services. The student is all aware of that when they take their orientation to understand what to expect in college life. Placement exams. Placement exams can be paper or on computer. This coming year, all of the Oregon community colleges, and I believe they said the universities, are all now switching over to AccuPlacer. They have agreed on that. The switch will be being over the summer and fall term. AccuPlacer does have paper exams, but they can't do huge amounts because they don't have a machine. They have to be hand graded when they're done. So the schools would prefer that you go ahead and do them online, and in the past, Lane had it, and we had a remote in, and then it would be a lockdown bar, and you could remote in with the computers if you have access to online for them to be able to take their exam. Lynn Benton also had that. Chemeketa is now going to begin doing Accuplacer this next school year. You have indicator sheets afterwards, too, that you can receive from the college to see where your student, when the scores come back, to tell them what level that they qualify for, what classes that they can sign up for. Pretty much it's reading, writing, and math. They would like to make sure that your math, your scores, and the classes you take will put you into where they feel you will succeed. Putting you into a higher math class when you're in Math 20 is not the best idea to do calculus when you're doing addition and subtraction. Working with colleges and universities. I'm still on this one. It's the advising portion of this. In the advising, many colleges have an online advising that you do with the student. They get on there, they speak with the staff about what they want to do for their future, and they have to get that clicked off. Registering for classes, when you start with a college program, you're pretty much a 24/7 person who's doing this, because on your holidays, which might be spring breaks, is the time that students have signed up for classes, but they're on the waiting list, and there's only a 24-hour window in which you can get the student into those classes, and you have to check your email or into their student account regularly to see if they were approved, and then you sign them up for the class. Exception to college policy. Let's say something happened through the term. There's always an exception to college policy if you have the student write out the paperwork and say, I blew this term because of illness, I was in an accident and I was not able to access computers, or my computer system, the mainframe at our school has blown up, or what would you call it? Crashed. And so that you can write that in for an exception to college policy. The college will review that to see whether it's on what supporting circumstances you have, and they may refund you for that term, or you will not be held liable for a grade. But that depends on from college to college.
Well, and one other thing with the 504 plans, if a youth has been on an IEP during high school, they're now eligible for the 504 while they're in college and those services. And getting them hooked up with the 504 plan and those folks that work at the college and university, and helping them get the services they need through that as well. The grant money process. So the one thing that kind of got us was that some of the colleges use them and some of the universities use them and some of them don't, are the Hire One cards. And all of a sudden we started getting debit cards in the mail that were issued to our youth. The nice thing about it is you can shred them as soon as they come through the door. You don't need them. Just tear them out. You know, there's a process. We have a policy in place. The OYA staff know. Hopefully the college person, your registrar, hopefully knows about it. If not, just call me. I'll help you through it. But you can basically shred those cards. And then you get on Hire One and basically tell them you want paper checks. And they will send you a paper check. So you don't even have to have the debit card to do their school process. Set up a process with your agency to track that money, to keep it separate from the youth money that comes in, because that money can only be used for tuition, books, and fees. And so we have to track that money to make sure that's where it's going and that's what it's being used for. The nice thing is most of the community colleges and the universities take the tuition off the top. Some of them allow you to have the money kept with them until the books are purchased, and then they send you the leftovers. Some of them send you the book money, and we had to set up a process of how we bought books, and Dagny will go over that in just a minute. And then just make sure you check your process regularly. It's not a normal thing to have to do. And so, going back to those folks on a regular basis going, how is it working? I talk to Dagny all the time. Is this working for you? Is it easy? I mean, we're still learning the process ourselves and changing our policy and procedures as we go. But just keep checking it to make sure that it works.
There's a difference between doing 5 students versus 60 students within a term on how quickly you can get it done and in and entered and purchased. Buying books. There's some colleges that have a real easy process, and I really do like Lane Community College's process because financial aid and books are all done at the same time. The student gets the leftover money sent to OYA. for their term for if any other needed books and fees are like for a class like Psychology 104 sometimes has an additional reading book that the students need to get, and then they'll have the funds to purchase that for their term. Chemeketa, great setup and everything on there. I've really enjoyed their stuff. The only problem is that we have to have the money up front when paying for books, and that makes it a little tougher within tying with the cards and purchasing. So if you, depending on your college, it will depend on how it works for you. Set up your process one by one, buy your books, you go into the textbooks, you go in, and usually they'll have things like your course number, they have a CRN number, they'll have a teacher, and then you just make sure that each book is purchased for what they need. You may need to do some legwork. For an example, when we do go down to Chemeketa, we have them hold the books there because we're running between Hillcrest and McLaren, so that we can just pick up the books on our way and bring them up rather than paying the $5.95 or $10 per order of books for each order that gets sent.
Yeah, yes, you can order them off of Amazon. The way we've set up our process is basically that you go through and fill out the book order form. And if you haven't seen that yet, just email me and I'll get it to you. But fill out the book order form. Work with your the person, your front office person with OIA that has the spots card that can pay for it credit card wise. And work through that and let them know that it's cheaper through Amazon and they can order through that. You'll have a smaller amount of youth than Dagny does. Dagny has her own process because she's working with about 80 kids to 90 kids at a time. You know, you might have 15, so it's a little bit easier for you. So yes, if you can find the book cheaper at Amazon, then you can just follow the book order process and you can get that done.
The only thing about the book orders, when you get them off of Amazon or some of the other places, you got to make sure that even though it has the same ISBN number, they may be custom books and you might not have the correct chapters. For an example, we had an economics class. Somebody thought they were going to do great on saying, hey, I can get it for just $5. Well, the teacher taught all the other chapters that were not in that book and was not customized for that teacher. So you need to check that before purchasing them.
And a big piece of legwork is also making sure your business department has IGA's agreements with intergovernmental agreements with your local community college where this is happening, to make sure that there is something written down between the two, especially when you're dealing with accounting. So you're dealing with the federal government, you're dealing with OIA policy, you're dealing with your own district's policy, and then you're dealing with the student his own account. So there's a lot of people involved in this process. So making sure your processes are clear and making sure everybody in your business department is on the same page and understands the process that you're going through, because that can take quite a while. So
last term, or when we first started deploying the Google Books, we came across the students turning in their paperwork to their instructors online. Their instructor says, I can't open this. I cannot see. What are you trying to submit? And it took a little bit. Then I was looking through and we noticed that they were submitting it as Google Docs rather than Excel. So when you're in, or just a regular Docs, when you're in Google, there's this, or in your Docs area and you've made a form, there's a file up top there. You click on file, it goes down and it says download as. Make sure you download it as a doc or a Excel that you can be able to upload again to submit for your class. And so we got that taken care of, and then we were having problems with the online, and one of the other students, as we were working through the part of realizing that you cannot submit things, how to get the system working, and one of my students who, well, one's actually moved on to one of our other facilities up north. The two of them worked together on that and came up with this basic stuff on how to get the simple steps for online working. And I think Donald would be the one, if he would like to come up here and tell that process, because he's been working with some of them on this, and this is what we've been working on. Just a GDocs to Google, but when the students would take these to go offline. Okay, because I knew it was something we had gone through quite a bit, but we knew about the uploading for staff. It's just doing it when they took it offline to go back on their units where they didn't have access to internet. Each school, also remember different forms. There's Moodle, eLearn, Banner, Canvas. I'm sure the universities have a few more that people will come across to work with as far as how to submit your information to this for the classroom. Passwords, if your college is connected to an email system, you need to make sure you do not give the student the password. If Moodle by itself, for an example, Lane Community College, at least until this last year, did not have an email connected to their system, but they did have Moodle, where somebody could send a message, but the students did not always engage in that area, and you'd have to go back in and look and see if your Moodle for each student that they were not sending messages that were out to somebody else, but mainly it's stuck within the students who were attending the school. So you have to monitor that and be aware of what's going on with each school.
And then basically, have questions, need assistance, just call us. We've put our emails and phone numbers down here. So, we're here to help you and get you going and whatnot. So
you can get a catalog from each of the schools and ask them for an online catalog so you know what classes are available. And then what you also do is work with your advisors, and you have advising sheets so you can help the students as they plan their 2-year program on getting their degree. The other thing about financial aid is they have to be going for a degree that is one that financial aid will cover. You're not somebody just going for a certificate. Financial aid may not cover that class for them or that degree. Any questions?